This is an instruction on how to do a Wilson switch in a landcruiser. I've got an 84 BJ60. I've had lots of issues with it over the years since I've bought it. When I got it, somebody had stuck 8.4 volt glow plugs in here. Consequently, with the super glow system that I've got, it only shoots. It's only supposed to shoot out 6 volts to these plugs. So consequently, they never heated up properly. The thing belched smoke for ages. So I swapped the 8.5 volt plugs out to the 6 volt plugs, which were supposed to be in here for the super glow system, and 2 of them burnt out. So I've obviously got an issue somewhere in here, and I figured it's just about time to get rid of all this annoying, overly complicated circuitry and just put something very, very basic in. So that's what I've done here. So basically the only thing that I'm going to reuse from the factory system is the bus bar in between here and the fusible links up here. Everything else is swapped out. Okay, so in the engine compartment here, started off at the battery. You've got your 2 fusible links coming off of the battery right here. This one here, the smaller of the 2, small nut. On this side, that's the side that controls the factory glow plug circuitry. I've just basically unplugged the factory wire, and I've made my own out of an 8-gauge wire. And that runs down the inside of the fender well. And I've got a relay that I've bolted to the inside of the fender. This wire on this side here, that's the wire that's coming from the battery through the fusible link. Opposite side of that, on this side over here, this is another 8-gauge wire that I've got running down, and that's going to the bus bar that feeds the glow plugs. Back to the relay, one side, this side here I've got going down, it just goes to ground. The other side, that's another 14-gauge wire that I've just got running through the firewall, and that's going to go up to the glow plug light. I've got the landcruiser all buttoned back up again, but I'll tell you what I've done. That wire that came in from the relay, that came through the firewall, it's coming up underneath the dash, and it's going to go up to the glow plug light here. In order to access this, there's 5 screws that hold down this instrument cluster. There's one on each side on the bottom, and there's one underneath each of the gauges itself. They pull this whole cluster out, and you can access this light from the back. The wire is basically coming up. It's splicing into one of the lights that feeds the glow plug light itself, and then it's coming down to the switch. The other side of the switch is going to go down underneath the dash. Take off this panel right here. Take off the glow plug controller, the timer, and you're going to splice into one of the wires off that, and that's what's going to feed the Wilson switch. But it's only going to give it power when the key is on. Now, for access, in order to install this switch here, pull off the cover. There's a bolt on either side of the fuse box. Remove both those bolts and drop the fuse box out of the way. That just makes access to get this switch in and out much easier. The switch itself, it's a fairly heavy duty one that I got from a local supplier. It's called a momentary switch, meaning it's only letting power go through it while it's depressed. It's not an on-off switch, it's called a momentary switch. Very important you have that, not an on-off switch. So I've got a couple other things I should mention. When I drilled out the hole for the switch itself, one side of it's got a flat side, and then it's D-shaped basically. What I found works really well is one of these step drills. Just grab that, drill that in, and this will drill to basically any size. You can get a perfect fit. Great tool to have. Grab. The other thing, I didn't get a very good picture of the block down here. See, I grabbed the power out of this one right here on, I'll show you with a pencil here. That one right there. Second one in, top right. Another thing is, with the glow plug light itself, you could opt to bypass that. It's kind of a nice thing. You know, when you hit the button, the light comes on. It's not necessary to do it, but it just, because you can hear the relay click on. It's just kind of a nice little thing to do if you got the time. And the other thing is the glow plugs themselves. Back to the engine compartment. This is basically what they look like. Right, so you're basically going to take off this top 10mm bolt, then you pull off the bus bar, and then you grab a hold of this nut here with a deep socket, and you just pull the whole thing right out of the head. To do this system, I switched over to 10.5-volt plugs. Running this thing for probably about 2 months now, and it's actually worked really, really well. Let's give it a fire up and see how it starts. Hit this button, see the light comes on. I usually sit there, wait for about 10 seconds or so. And then while holding it down, we'll just fire it up. And let's keep on holding it for another minute or so. Actually not a minute, another 5 to 10 seconds or so. And let it off. And if it's really cold, it's not that cold today, it's only about -5 up here. You can hear how nice it is running. If it does start to chug a little bit, just hit the glow plug again. That's the nice thing about this. You can blow it as much as you like. I don't know how long you can hold voltage on these plugs. You know, you're running 12.5 volts into a 10.5-volt plug. But I've been glowing them for, 10, 15, 20 seconds at a go with and seem to be working just fine. Another really good thing about this whole system, if everything you did, shut this down, if everything you did craps out on you, if the relay breaks, you're in the middle of the bush somewhere, your relay goes, there's no reason why you can't just take your jump-up cables and just jump right from your battery straight to the bus bar and start your vehicle up that way. So it's made this super idiot proof. Okay, hopefully that covers everything. Except for the wiring diagram. So basically what I've got here, I've got the battery up front here, going through the fusible links. The 8-gauge wire is going down to my relay. On the other side of the relay, the 8-gauge wire goes out to the bus bar. The relay has got one side that's grounded. The other side is going through the firewall up to the light. Now my light switch up here, I just grabbed another light out of another cruiser in the yard. It just made it a lot easier to work with. Cut it out, made sure that the leads themselves are about 3 inches long, so I had wire to work with. So one of those leads is going to come down and it's going to go into a junction, just one of those crimp junctions, with the wire that comes up from the relay. The other side here is going to go down to the switch, and the other side from the switch is going to go down to the switch power, where I've pulled off from where the glow timer was. Other side of the switch, basically just run it down and grounded it.